it was one of the cons, and Brian Myers was having like a party in his room, and he had invited Shane and I, and we were like the oldest people there. And I was like, I don't know. I go, they're going to be all young. I don't know if they're going to want to talk to me or not. And so we went, and it was so funny because Shane was sitting on the other side, and like he can't hear. He's like going like this to try and hear people talking to him. There were so many people in the room, but I got to sit with you for a little bit and chat. And you were so sweet. And I was like, I love these girls. It was Impact at the time. I said, if I can be anywhere, I'd want to work for Impact, because you girls were so down to earth and so sweet, and not in a fake, that fake bitchy kind of way. No, you guys were so welcoming and so nice to me and to Shane, even though he didn't know what world he was in. But it was so fun. And I was like, oh my God, I feel like it's 1996 again. Like, I felt young and vibrant.
I mean, I also think like it was a good group that night. So a lot of us are grizzled at this point. So we're kind of grizzled from your generation of like kind of being humble and kind of just hanging and like kind of being real, right? And that's kind of how we connected, right? There's no bullshit. It's not like it's black or white and that's it, right?
It was great. It was great.
And we're very old school too. So I think that's kind of how we connected as well. So
I think that's a lost art, because there's so many people like around your age that don't think the way you do. And they have a totally different vibe, like going into like their locker room. They don't even look at you. So, and I'm not saying like when we walk into a room, everybody's got to bow down, but it's nice for people to say, oh, hi. If I say, hi, I'm Francine, I don't want you to say, yeah, I know. I want you to go, hi, I'm so-and-so. And then you can have a conversation. And some people are so rude, and you guys were the best and so nice. And I had such a good time just drinking.
It was fun. I can't wait for part 2.
I hope there's a part 2, because I will be there.
There's always a sequel with
there's always a part 2 somewhere, right?
Yes, there will always be a part 2.
I love that.
But I also think I kind of got lucky with my career, where I kind of was brought in, like I started like, I don't know, I always hate saying how long I've wrestled, but over 15 years ago, where things were a lot different, right? So like I'm kind of very blessed that I got to, learn the business during that time, because now when I'm like in the game, I'm very rational and not entitled as like how the new generation might seem. So like I really think I kind of got lucky, because like if I got signed maybe 10 years ago, I might not have that mentality, right? So like a lot of times like, oh well, I'm 37, I've been around for a while, is it like past my time? And I really think it's like my prime where it's wild, because I thought it was more towards the end, right? So I really think I got kind of lucky of my journey of where I started, what generation I started with, because then I have that mentality of like things are a lot different. Like it was very hard for me to evolve with wrestling as like things change, like intergender wrestling, more of the spots and matches. I'm more of a storyteller. I like the energy, like you know what I mean? Like the valet part of it, the entertainment part of it. Like I hate wrestling, to be honest, but I do it because you kind of have to, right?
So you would rather work ringside than be a competitor, a full-fledged wrestler?
If I get paid the same as if I had to put boots on, like, you know what I mean? Like if it's the same as that one, 100%, right?
Oh,
And I
interesting.
also think it takes a lot of work to be ringside. A lot of people kind of don't understand how much work it really truly takes. Like you're kind of a puzzle piece to a lot of things. Like right now we have the system, which is a good group that we have. It's Moose, Eddie Edwards, myself, and Myers. And sometimes people are like, oh well, she's just a girl. No, the manager sometimes is a really important piece of the group. It kind of is the glue that holds it all together. So I think like sometimes I second guess the whole ringside thing, but I think it's actually a good trait to have and be able to, perform in that, because a lot of people can't be a good valet. I mean, you could go out there and look good, but that doesn't mean, look at you. You were a great valet in
Oh,
ECW.
well, thank you. I agree with your statement. I feel like the art of the valet manager has been missing for a really long time because
Yes.
there was a very long stretch where they didn't have anybody at ringside. It was
Correct.
just the two workers or the four workers for a tag or whatever. And I always loved watching the girls on the outside because you never know when they're going to get involved. And there was always that aspect of, oh my God, what is she going to do?
Yeah.
And it keeps the people on their toes. They're watching you to see how you're reacting to the match. So yes, you are a key puzzle piece in that whole scenario of the angle. And sometimes
Yeah.
the angle will revolve completely around the girl.
Yeah,
And it
and I
makes it
mean,
fun to
we've done a lot of cool things, and I think like Eddie, like right now he's a heel, but sometimes it's kind of hard to hate him. And then once I turn heel and I aligned with him, it's so much easier to hate him because it's easy to hate me, right? So I think I bring that extra element to it as well. So I mean, like I said, I think it's a job in itself to kind of be a valet.
Yeah, I think you guys are doing a great job. I was recently in Disney World and we got access and I sat down, I watched the whole hour and you guys were on it. And you, first of all, you looked gorgeous.
Oh,
Absolutely,
thanks.
absolutely gorgeous. But I like it reminded me a little bit of the triple threat. It's like, you got the three guys, you got the hot manager, not putting myself over as hot, but you know what I'm saying. You looked great, and everybody worked together so well. And it just, I love the aspect of a girl being at ringside. So I'm so glad that you get to do that and you're enjoying it as
Oh,
well.
I
And
love it.
don't think you're not adding anything because you are adding a ton to that act.
Well, thanks. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Sometimes I guess I have to, I guess like because back to the whole thing of I rather be ringside. Sometimes that gets in my brain, or my wrestling brain, not my real brain, but my wrestling brain. That sometimes, like, if you're on the forefront of like the championship, like you don't matter that much. But I think I've been at Impact long enough, and I'm getting to the point where I'm comfortable with my spot, and I know where I'm valuable, and I think it's great. And I mean, I couldn't do it without the team at Impact, well, TNA. But
Yeah.
yes, I think and I also think the boys, it's a good group. Like we're friends. Myers is great, Moose is great, and I think us being close on the road as well kind of brings out the best in each and like all of us. I think we kind of like strive to make sure we do better each time, and I mean, it's great.
Yeah, and you develop that trust because you're not only friends on the inside, but you're friends on the outside, and you're working with your husband. So if you
Yes,
can't
which is
trust your husband,
great.
who are you going to trust? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I want to kill him, but it's
No,
okay.
of course. We all want to kill our husbands. That's the way it is. Can you comment on Scott Demore? Like, what was the collective thought when he was let go? Because I remember reading it and I was shocked. Um,
I think like everyone was shocked. I think the wrestling world was shocked. The locker room was shocked. I
yeah,
think our momentum is probably the highest it's been in years, even a decade, I would say. I mean, I've been with Impact for 6, 7 years, so almost close to a decade, I think, is we have the highest momentum we've had. So I think the firing of Scott kind of came, it was a little blindsided. Um, but I mean, like, what are you gonna do? I mean, I'm loyal to Scott, but I'm also loyal to TNA, and I think the engine needs to keep running, and I
right.
think we need to keep the momentum going. Like that's all we can really do. I mean, Scott was a real puzzle piece in our journey that we had. Making TNA what it is now. But I mean, at the end of the day, the locker room did as much work as Scott did. So I think the locker room just needs to come together and stay positive and keep the ball rolling. And I mean, that's all we can really do at this point.
Yeah, it just came as like a shock because I remember watching the name change and how passionate Scott was giving that speech and just screaming about TNA and chanting the letters. And then like 2 weeks later, I read that he's like gone. And I was just like, that sucks because he's been there forever. So I could imagine it's a huge bummer in the locker room. And
yeah, and I mean, and I guess the bummer is because the morale in the locker room is very high right now. But I mean, maybe that's a blessing in disguise, and I think that's truly gonna what brings all of us together to kind of make sure that. I mean, because there are going to be people that are emotionally attached to Scott. Like, Scott wasn't just our boss. He was our mentor. He was a coach. He inspired us. He pushed us. He yelled at us. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was all of it. So, like, he was very important to a lot of people on the roster. And we built a lot of relationships over the years, too. So, it was very, it was like we had to grieve a little. But, I mean, at the end of the day, like, the show doesn't stop. Like,
the show must go on.